All right. So everyone that will have had to install robot. Do you see my screen already?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, will have installed robot or owl tools. Any of these Python programs will have had to manage their path one way or another. And the path, let's just start a little bit. So I invite you all to open your terminal one moment. So the path is is basically here, and the way that we think about it, a variable that contains a bunch of paths on our local system. And these, and so before we explain something about this, let's just look at these. So everyone that has a terminal open, type the command echo $path. So I provide some more additional information about this syntax in the tutorial, but just one thing for you to say. So as a reminder, we have, when we are writing a command on the command line, we have this echo command here in this case. The echo command is basically a command that prints whatever follows. And here we have a, we are printing a variable, which is called path. And we can recognize variables in our in Unix by this leading $sign. So this $sign means this is a variable, and what follows afterwards is the name of a variable. And this is a special kind of variable. This is an environment variable, so a variable that is available while that is always, let's say, available when you are in your term. And look at it. So it looks a bit messy here. So as a reminder from here that prints, so you remember last week we did, so 2 weeks ago we did this idea of piping. So here what we do is we just, in order to print this in a bit more nice way, what we see here, we echo this path, then we pipe this command to another command, which is called tr, which is a command that we can use to substitute characters in the whatever we are printing here. And what we are doing is we are substituting the colon sign, which is here, as you can see in this variable, denotes separates two items in the path from each other with a new line command, and then we are also sorting the output. So this is much easier to read. And the only reason why I want to show you this is basically the path variable just contains a bunch of paths. And these paths, what they signify for your interest is just that your shell is aware of these locations. And if you type something, will all of these location commands will understand what the second we are to do something with this. All right. So did you all manage to print your? Yeah.
Can you repeat what you just said, because you broke up and yeah, I didn't hear what you just said, but what that means.
Ah, yeah. So we will go through exactly what we will do with this path now when we are actually going to add something to it. But so I don't know exactly what you missed now, but yeah, maybe let's just move on and see. So my question to you is did you manage to run this command here? And
yes, and so I have I have basically a list of things.
Did it print something on you, or do you have rooms?
Yes, I did run it, yeah. And I have a list.
That's great. File. So there are parts. All right. So
Nico, we can't hear you.
So a goal, and we will use this. How we will usually use, I create user. Sorry, so
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, sounds great.
Okay, so let me try to basically take over where Nico stopped. So that might be a bit tricky because I mean, I know about this stuff, but I'm discovering the tutorial at the same time as other. So to go back to this thing about the maybe about the path. So what Nico was trying to explain before he got cut. So from what I managed to hear, so he was trying to explain what is this path for. So basically, this list of directories that are contained in this path variable, that's the list of all the directories where the shell is looking for binaries for executable programs when you're instructing your shell to start a program. So every time you start a program from the shell, for example, be it ls to list the content of a directory, or if you when you want to start a graphical program that you want to start from a particular from where you are currently in your shell. Let's take, for example, the case of ls. Maybe if I could, not sure if I can. Who is currently sharing? That's Nico.
Yeah, I just came back. I just came back.
You're back. Okay. So can you? Do you want to try taking a?
Yep. Do you want to try taking?
So I was just about to explain what is the path for, but it would have been maybe slightly easier if I share my own screen for that.
All right. Yeah. So don't worry. So now I'm back, and one thing that I really want to get to is at the end to talk a bit about profile management, but maybe we get a bit more time in the Q&A in a few minutes where you can maybe where we can switch screens. So I ran now to a different house with a different internet. Hopefully that works better.
Okay.
Is it okay? Good. Thank you very much for helping out. Okay. So
in the end, I didn't say anything, so you can take over. You can take back exactly where you stopped.
Okay, thank you. All right, okay, good. So this is the path variable. So now what we will do is we will go to back to the tutorial. So this is kind of like where you can copy your commands. For everyone that is doing anything in the direction of semantic engineering, even if you're an ontology curators, I recommend to create a directory for all kinds of custom tools that you have somewhere in your working directory. So I personally have a directory called tools. So I go to my working directory using CD and this tilde symbol. This brings me to my home directory, sorry. And then I already have a tools directory, but you can on your machine now create your own tools directory in there to follow the rest of this tutorial. So this is where we would store robot and other custom tools in. And if you already have robot elsewhere, don't worry, just create another one there and we can delete this. You can delete this after the tutorial again. So this is just a reminder from last week, create a new directory. So the next things what we do is we go inside of the tools directory, and now we will download the robot jar using this curl command. So we are not discussing in detail what this does. We did a little bit of that last time. So you can see basically you provided a URL, and you pipe it into a file that is called robot.jar. And it will download in a few seconds, hopefully a bit faster for you than for me. All right. And then, so the first thing that you should kind of get used to is that many of the tools that we are using are Java tools. I'm not going to go into explain a lot about that, but you can invoke, like if you are downloading these kind of ominous looking jar files, you can always kind of try to invoke them directly by using this kind of Java -jar command on the command line. So you are all of you have used robot, and you're all used to just typing robot and then some command. But kind of, and we will get there how we do that in general. But here you can see you can also just directly invoke the jar file by typing Java -jar and then the name of the jar file. We've just downloaded it and called it robot.jar, and then here getting the version number. So in the exactly same way as you could run the robot command using the usual instructions, you can also just straight go to the jar file and use that. Obviously, this is quite cumbersome. So can I ask for a show of hands, like at least like 3 people that have successfully downloaded robot into the tools directory? Yeah, Sean has. Sabrina has. Anyone else? So is anyone else actually trying to follow this tutorial, or you're stuck somewhere? So then speak up and we can slow down and go back somewhere, or are you just listening and not following? Okay. No, don't worry. But I mean, it's up to you. I'm not saying that you have to follow it. I'm just asking so that I know a little bit who to wait for. So for Bradley, then I will. Slow down. Okay, all right. Okay. So Sabrina, were you able to try and run this just for funsies, this Java command here?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And it said the operation couldn't be completed. Unable to locate a Java runtime.
You don't have Java installed. All right. Okay, that's a different issue then. So this is something that we need to sort out in one of our other calls. Okay. So if you don't have Java installed, then you won't even be able to run robot. But in any case, you don't need to run this to follow the rest of this tutorial here. All right, so now in the robot install instruction, so the next step is to download this wrapper script here. So if you're all on this website, so Sarah, are you also following this tutorial?
I am just watching today. Sorry, I have some other things going on.
Okay, no problem. So you can see that. So this is also in the instructions, and what we do here is we download this file from the web. So I'm just going to show this in the browser one moment, which is basically a shell script which we can execute in our shell. So this is kind of like what is happening here. That this is what we would call a wrapper script, and many of you that have used the ODK before actually have used this run.sh wrapper script to execute shell commands in the past, and this robot script is actually nothing but that. So it's exactly like the same kind of logic, where you can see this is a shell script that is doing some things that is irrelevant, and in the end, not irrelevant, it's doing something, but it doesn't matter now to this tutorial. And in the very end, it will run exactly this Java -jar command with the robot.jar that I've showed you before here, that you could execute directly on the command line. So this is just like to get a bit of a feeling of what are all these things that you are downloading and adding to and downloading and executing. So when you are running this kind of command like robot -- version on your machine, if you have robot installed, what is actually happening is that you are invoking a shell script. So this script that we have downloaded here, and the reason why your shell is able to find and know what this robot command is because it is present somewhere on your path. which it is if you're doing this for the first time right now, just not. All right, so now we have hopefully downloaded the wrapper script into the same directory, into the tools directory. So there's in this tutorial a bunch of things now that explain that you can set the path variable also on the terminal and all this stuff. So I'm going to skip all this, but I recommend to you to just work through this in your own time. But I'm just going to jump ahead now to the question of how can you now add the path. So this new directory that you created, this tools directory, how can you add this to your to your path, and that your shell recognizes can recognize this robot command. And in order to do that, you will be using a script. Again, like all of these things are kind of scripts, which we call a profile, or in this case, like a shell profile, which is basically executed every single time you open a new terminal window. So you see here, I'm going to show you. So for many of you, depending on which shell you're using, you will either, so let's just try this. You will either have you're using your Z shell, and then your profile will be located in your home directory in a file called .zshrc. So you can see here I have one profile for the Z shell. I'm just printing the first 10 lines of that profile so that you see that it is there, and I will invite you to do the same. And if you are using bash instead of the Z shell, then you will have instead a this file located. So it's called .bash profile. They both serve the same functionality. It just depends on the kind of shell that you're using. There is a command, I forgot about now what it is, that you can determine which shell you are, but most of you that are Mac users will be using by default a Z shell. So you will be editing this ZSHRC file. So from the people that are actually participating, Sabrina and Lee, maybe, do you see when you're typing this command, the head command, do you see anything? Is it there?
I do. I have path equal my user / tools.
Excellent, excellent, good. So you have this file, and Lee, do you also have this file?
Mine has like conda initialize.
That's good. That's all right. And I only care whether you have this file or not. And all of your files will look very different. There are some people like Chris, or I think also Joe, and many others that have like lots of things in their profiles, and they will all look very different. And that's a kind of one of the joys, like when you start to understand what is this file, you will start organizing it in whatever way you want. So don't worry about it. The mere existence is what matters right now. Okay, so what we need to do now in order to add something to the path is we need to add to this profile here an instruction that says, please, an instruction that tells us that our new tools directory should actually be added to the path variable. So what I will do now is, hopefully you all have Nano installed. I'm not sure whether this is installed by default. There will be some of you that will use Vim and other things, but I don't know. I couldn't navigate you now through Vim. So let's try to use Nano to actually try and edit the ZSH RC file. So maybe maybe I'll stop screen sharing, and we will jump a bit with between Lee and Sabrina with editing the profile. So yeah, you have this installed. Good, Ellen, that's great. Sabrina, would you be willing to do the first round of demo?
Yeah,
excellent. I'll just walk you through what needs to happen. Yeah, excellent. So you can copy.
So
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
is what I did. Nano, this
Mhm.
one. Hopefully you
Mhm.
can see. I don't know how big it is. And this is here my terminal.
It's surprising to me that before you said there is something in this file, and here it seems or is there? Oh no, there's something probably above that I don't see, right? So if you can you go up with your cursor and see whether there's anything else in this file? So just use the up arrow.
Sorry, I go back and forth with muting and unmuting. So
Oh, no, that's all right. That's all right. So you didn't previously have a ZSH RC file that had anything in it, right? I thought you had a file. Okay, don't worry. Let's just hope that
this is what I had.
Oh, you already had that. Ah, because probably
so
you've done the tutorial with me in the past. Excellent. Okay, no problem then. Okay, so so
I don't know.
so it's already done then. So what you see here is we've added an instruction to the ZSH RC profile, export path, and we say basically we set the path variable again by adding a new path, then adding a colon, and then adding the old path behind it. So we just add a new path before the old path, and that's it. So now when you go out again using the Control X, you don't need to edit anything. But if you had to edit something, you first have to do Control O and then Enter and then Control X. So now if you can you do echo $path, just see, because probably you don't even have to refresh it. Yeah, so it's interesting. Okay, let's try to source the let's try to source the ZSHRC file here. So type in the in your terminal, type source. So you will see this in the tutorial as well, as exactly space and then tilde/.zshrc with a period. Okay, and now try again to print the path. You can always just use the arrow up to go to the previous commands. Yeah. So now you see that the tools directory is actually correct at your in the beginning of your path. Yeah. So the first thing in your path variable is now this tools directory. So this is, and actually it was the case before because you've done this in the past. Anyways, so this is what you would have done if you would have just added this as part of the tutorial. So this is good. So now you have added this directory to your path. And if you go now and you step out now, so CD, for example, tilde, and you invoke, and will fail now because you don't have Java installed, but it doesn't matter. So if you type now robot ---- version, yeah. So in any case, if you would have Java installed, this would work now. But in your because you don't have Java installed, we don't have time now to install this. So it recognizes, in any case, even though you're not in the tools directory, it recognizes that the robot command exists. It is somewhere. It is in your tools directory, and this is because you've added it to the path. Okay. So
Nico, could I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've got another export path thing for my Python 3. If I have these two export things, I'm still not quite 100% clear what this path actually does.
Okay.
So yeah,
all right.
I'm just like,
let me try one more time, slowly. This was also because before I had this terrible connection, but so the path variable is basically a list of directories. That's it. Okay, that's what the path variable is. And when we say we have to, and this list of directories is basically are the places where your shell is going to look for commands. So if you are adding any, so for example, you can add any kind of scripts, any kind of commands into the various directories in your path, and your command line will find those scripts. But the point is, it's a list of paths. Okay, so when you're doing export, what you're doing is you keep overwriting this variable. Yeah, so you can have multiple rows, export path. This is basically redefining the path variable by adding something to it, and you can do 5, 6, 10 exports underneath each other if you're adding, if you want to add multiple different paths on your system to it. And anything that you add to this variable will then be checked by your shell when you're typing a command to find any kind of commands that you may have installed. Does it make sense?
Yeah. And then from there, because I've already got robot installed on my computer, when I type robot, which one would I see that when I do robot version, it's going to my old robot instead of the one in tools. Does that mean I need to uninstall it, or do I need to like?
So basically, basically in this case, the order of the path variable matters. So if you see here that there's, by the way, yeah, this does make sense. This file output, you have different. But in any case, so if you're looking at the export path instructions, so you see that what we do here is we have $path : and then we add the new path to the end of the command. Now this means that this is the last place the shell will look for your robot command. If you want to add this directory in such a way that it is the first thing that your shell will check, you will go and yeah, maybe that's a good idea. So we can.
Oh, I didn't realize I could do that. I saw a screen and I just assumed I couldn't. Yeah, sure.
And so if you are adding the if you're excellent. You just go back to this. That's excellent actually to look at the atom. Look at it in atom. So just put the atom back.
Oh, sorry, wrong side.
So if you are now, instead of in row 112, you can just cut out the path variable, cut it, delete the colon, add the colon to the end of tools, and paste the path variable. So what you're doing here is you are saying now, dear shell, first look in the tools directory and then look in the path directory. So now if you save this and you source it again, it will first look in the so you have to first source it. So
yeah, I'm trying to find my fine.
no,
That's not right.
no,
Should be 1.9.
This is
You can use the which command. If sorry to interrupt, you can use the which robot to find which version your shell is executing.
So with which, like which and robot?
Lowercase.
Oh, actually, lowercase robot.
Yeah.
So probably, yeah, so we will have to look at your file, which has quite a lot of different export paths in there. So maybe there is another place where path variable is altered. No, it doesn't seem so.
Not at all. Yeah.
Okay, anyways, so I think that we need, so for that, I don't know in this particular situation exactly what went wrong, but probably something is overriding, something is not gone wrong right here with the order of the path. But don't worry about it. Right now, you can control the order in this way. So just with a look at the time, I want to really go into this last bit, which is really the thing that I mainly wanted to show. about managing your profile. So since you've already shown, Sean, that you're managing the ZSHRC file in Atom, I'm also going to continue to do that from now on. So basically, this is also explained in the tutorial. This is just a normal text file. You can use text edit. I also provide some commands on how to open it in any text editor if you are not comfortable with using something like Nano. Yeah, so it's much nicer in something like Atom, for example. So what I want to show you is I want to talk to you a little bit about shortcuts commands. So one thing that you will continue to do, like the more and more you work on the command line, you will see how much faster it is to do certain things on the command line than to try and do them from the terminal, and you will use it more and more, and you will start having to do things like where is my HPO installation, and you type source, you go type long paths, and then 5 minutes later you have to go make a release of Pato or change or run a Python script in a development environment somewhere. So these kinds of long paths, for example, or longer commands, and we will look at this in a second, these can be shortcutted using aliases. So in what I do, for example, here is this is just a few examples that I wanted to show you. I create certain shortcut relationships, shortcut aliases in the same file that we have been editing right now, that allow me to quickly navigate between these kinds of directories. So, for example, in my case, I chose a shortcut CDS HP that brings me straight to the HP source directory, or CDS Mondo, which brings me straight to the Mondo directory. And there are many kinds of shortcuts like that. And the idea, what I'm trying to bring across here, is not that it is great to alias your pathfinding here, but actually you can alias almost every single thing. So in the tutorial, I'm explaining basically here in the end. So I'm showing a bunch of super useful aliases, like, for example, you can put an alias for searching in your history. So I can just show you how I would edit this. So I'm going again to my, so in fact, I need to edit another file, sorry. I need to edit my bash profile. It's the same. So I'm going to add an alias here in the end to my list of aliases, HG, which is the search in my history. Then I'm sourcing this file, or I just restart, I just open a new tab, it doesn't matter. And then what I can do is I can just use this alias instead of actually typing out the whole command. So I can run HG, and for example, this command HG was, just look back, this was a pipe of the history command. So as a reminder, the history command shows you all the past commands that you have executed, with a grep command that allows you to search in this history. So I can do something like, for example, search for all the times I ran a command involving git in the past. So I can, if I ever forget what is the way to do git merge master or something, I can use this command now, super short, to find the right place. But I can also do many more things. So for example, I'm using this a lot because I always forget my ORCID. I type ORCID, and now what I have is I copied ORCID into my clipboard. So I just go to my terminal, type ORCID, and I can just paste it to wherever place I have to paste it. And this is like happening all the time, where I can do stuff like, yeah, for you, this is maybe less relevant, but copying pearls, copying version IRIs, and all this kind of stuff. But generally, you can shortcut any kind of command that you may type on your terminal into a short alias that you like. So if you're an ODK user, you may want to shortcut your sh run.sh make update repo command into a simple update repo alias, so that when you are in your ontology directory, you can just run update repo, and it will run the repo update. And but the cool thing is you okay, so now before I move on, did any one of you, Sabrina or Lee or Sean, did you try to add an alias to your profile?
I constantly use it already.
No, you are using it already. Great. So Sabrina, did you try to follow and add an alias?
I haven't done
Do you
it
want
yet.
to-
I just came back this morning, so so I haven't
no.
had time to
I
prepare
mean, we
for
can,
it.
if
I
you
haven't
want,
done.
do you want to just try and do this real quick on your
Sure.
machine and demos?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so just take go to not from one of the more complex ones for now. Go to the top and, for example, take the update repo one, because we know that you have Docker installed, so we can just demonstrate how this works. Number 5.
Oh, here. Okay, here. Okay, now I know where I am.
So the first thing we do is we will we will go with nano back into the ZSHRC file in the terminal. Yeah. Now underneath your export path, you can just go down with the arrow yeah. And now you paste in here the alias in number 5. Let's also paste this in. Now also paste in make a new line, also paste in the first one, but change it to cd mondo and add your path to your local mondo directory.
Here?
Yeah, you cannot, I always forget that. You just go back with your left arrow.
Oh, yeah. So this one here is the name, the
exactly.
shortcut name I want to provide. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you just, instead of the your tilde/tools, you write the directory where your mondo is located. If you don't know, if you know it by heart,
can
okay.
you use the?
No, you can't. Not in the script. If you don't know it by heart, just hit Command T. This opens a new tab, and then you can navigate here to your mondo directory using the usual tabbing.
No, everybody's watching me, so.
That's all right. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. You can also just go in there and just type pwd and copy that path. So pwd prints the location. Yeah. Now you can copy this path and go back to the other one. And then you have to remove, though, now the leading /tilde. And now you go back to the, and that's the tilde also has to go.
Oh.
Because the tilde is exactly, it means user /Toro SA, so it's fine.
Okay, so I could have put the tilde instead.
It's better to do it like that, I think. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but just leave it like that. And move to the end, closing. Yeah, exactly. Now type Control O. This is saving the file. This is all explained in the tutorial. Yes, enter. Control X to close it. And now source it again. So by the way, the sourcing is only necessary when you're in the same terminal window. So once you're moving to a different terminal window, you don't need to do source. Okay, that's great. And now let's try to do cd mondo. One word. And now pwd to convince yourself. Yeah, so you've navigated now to the cd to the mondo directory. So now let's run update_repo. So just to convince yourself that this command also works. So it's the running update repo, but of course Mondo doesn't have update repo, so it was not a good idea to use update repo. But you can change it yourself now if you want to do something useful that you usually use, like test or prepare release or something like that. But yeah, so great, well done. And now maybe before I move on to the coolest of all things, is there any questions so far about aliases? Okay, now let's think a bit about something even more powerful than aliases, which is custom functions. So in the tutorial, I'm listing a few examples of custom functions. So for example, I may be in here and I'm like, I see some output, for example, some weird term that is unsatisfiable or some robot report output or something like that. And I quickly want to check, for example, that term, or I quickly want to search on OLS for hurt. That was a wrong search, sorry. So I can do something like actually looking up something on OLS, or I can, let me see about some other examples that I put in this tutorial. I can do things like running a quick robot report, and that is using the R report method. So let me just go to, I'm already here. So I can do R report. So I implemented this RR report function in my bash profile that is running a robot report on some file. And this is how this works. So we've seen how we can add aliases into the bash profile using this alias command. But what we can also do is we can actually add entire functions into the same file, into the same bash profile, or into the same ZSHRC file. And these functions can basically do anything you want. Like, this is really, your imagination is the limit here. So you can say, you can do things like read the first parameter. So this would be my file name, and run this robot report and store the result in this directory. And then afterwards, open the result of this robot report, run in my Atom text editor or stuff like that. So you can add like basically arbitrary functions into your bash, into your shell profile, and execute them. And anything that you kind of do regularly, like writing a git commit -m message, you can write like a nice shortcut function gm and with a git message. Or here I give this example, you can define like a function that actually opens an obook issue straight away so let me show you how this would look like. That would open an obook issue on obook. So here, these are my functions. So you can see here, I have this method called obook issue. This is opening a new issue with a specific title. So now when I type simply obook issue and then add tutorial on I don't know, pull requests, then it will do things like going straight to your browser, opening with a pre-populated issue and stuff like that. Like, generally, if you start using it, really helps to just make things much faster. You don't need to go to the browser, search where's the issue tracker. You don't need to go, because if you're doing this all the time continuously, it just really helps to have shortcuts in your bash profile. Good. So we can talk a little bit more about what kind of cool functions you can implement. But first of all, are there any questions about functions? And are you interested in kind of like, do you want to, or have you been using functions in your own work so far and want to share a little bit your experience and what kind of methods you have been implementing?
It's a really selfish question, but like, I can't get my OLS function to work, and I was wondering,
let's share screen and let's see whether we can figure it out.
Sure. There you go. So I start with this, right? If I just make sure that the function works. So I realize that there is these things here. So I put them in. Yeah, this is the function here. When I go as say hard,
So
it comes up.
So so first of all, okay, so you have decided to make it uppercase. So
It's just a thing in my head that is uppercase, then I know it's calling into this. Yeah.
can you remove the, so in my configuration, I'm not using the backslash before the question mark. So if you
Yeah, I
remove
tried that as the same issue. Hold on, what that means. Where's the source? There you go. And let's go.
no matches found.
I mean, this is absolutely correct, bro. If I
Yeah, no, this is right. This is right. Like, I'm wondering whether, can you, if you're typing now open and then type any HTTP, just type here where you are, just type open
Yeah.
and then copy the, yeah, anything.
let's just go to Google. It works.
Yeah.
I've tried with the OLS too. It works. So say I copy this search here exactly here, and I go open. It
Okay, just
works.
can we see again your bash profile?
Yeah.
It does look correct. Can you just, I
Is
mean,
it just-
it sounds super silly, but just, I mean, probably irrelevant what I'm saying now, but just make it the OLS lowercase maybe. I don't know whether uppercase has any significance in the function name. Probably not, but.
Yeah.
No matches found. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Can
It's okay.
did anyone else try to implement a method here so far, and has the same problem? No, probably not. Yeah, so we can look into this, but I don't really know what the problem with your command. It looks correct to me.
No worries. I mean, I can go search online and figure out what the problem usually is. Something silly. No worries.
All right. Last words from me then. First of all, are there any other questions on this?
Oh yeah, back to the OLS thing. How do you get the plus? Because if you say lung disease, right? For example, hold on, maybe let me share my screen again. So if I search for lung disease here, it will be a plus there.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I think it's already yeah, probably a good idea, Bradley, to add this to the suggestions here. So I think probably the browser will be able to deal with this itself. So let me just so when I do this heart disease, for example, I'll just share screen again. Yeah. So what happens when I do it? So when I search for heart disease, so like this with a space in it, then it will just, you know, it will just work. So
that's nice.
But probably, but if you, so it's a good question for, like, if you have to do any processing on the input, you can always just use piping and pipe the output of this variable, replace all the occurrences of space with plus, for example, and then submit it and then append it to the URL after the fact.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got it. Thanks.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. So I'm not quite happy with the way that I delivered this. I hope that if you go through this tutorial by yourself, you should get a bit more detail and a bit more explanation than what I did now in the live tutorial. What I want really to get across here is that learning the terminal, it may sound scary at first, but learning to deal with the terminal and customizing this and owning this kind of stuff a bit is really something that is, first of all, lots of fun, and second of all, can make you just like so much more productive. Like, so many people are using the terminal in a very inefficient way. And once you start like seeing that you can actually customize your profiles, adding shortcuts, adding aliases, you will start also think a little bit more about commands, about pipes. And I think that for all of you, it's probably going to be super useful to just think about becoming at least like some kind of wizard on the terminal. It's a super good skill to have, and hopefully it will make you a better ontology curator as well as a better software engineer if you master some of these things in the terminal. So I hope that you got a bit of a sense of how you can make this a bit better. And yeah, and if you have any questions, you can just post them to me in the group, and we will try to answer them there. So thank you very much for being here, and have a very good week.
Thank you.